Going to wait for this little section to go through to the desktop app, and this will get edited off once we finish the video. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on the planet. Welcome to Brooks's Base Corner, live chat number 19. You're very welcome. Hope everyone is safe and well out there. It's been a slightly hectic day. If you've followed the channel, you'll realise there's a new video went up in the early hours of this morning. There's another video coming your way very shortly tomorrow. And there's another one heading a couple of days later this week. So hope everyone's safe and well out there. As I've said, you're very welcome. Live chat number 19 here on Brooks's Base Corner. Thank you very much for all the likes, the subscribers, the comments on the videos over the past week. If you've joined a live chat before, basically we talk about anything to do with bass. So anything to do with bass guitars, amplification, effects, accessories, albums, your favorite bands, great bass players. If you want to talk about anything to do with the bass magazines that are out there, I've written for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player over the past 18 years. So if you've got any questions, or you'd like to know anything about writing for a magazine or being a bass player, and this being your job, or being a weekend player in covers bands, if I can help in any way, just let me know. You guys can interact with me on this live chat via the chat window. So if you're on the desktop application, it's on the right hand side. If you're on the mobile app, it's underneath this video window. So if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to talk about, by all means put it in that chat window, and I'll come back to you as soon as I see something come up on there. Let's think. So yes, a new video went up in the early hours of this morning. It was very early hours because the eyes are feeling it today. And if you've seen sort of the video and you've enjoyed it, then thank you very much. I've had a lot of comments, a lot of good feedback. So if you haven't seen it, or you're listening to this after the event, I put up a new video this morning about cleaning and setting up a Status Graphite Empathy bass. So that's my own personal bass. I did a few workshop videos when we started the channel, which was 2 years ago, last week. And I hadn't done any for quite a while. So that bass is actually now going to be used for what I'm calling an experiment. It's not entirely an experiment, because I've kind of done what I'm about to do the videos on years ago. But basically, I've put a set of Rotor Sound SM66 swing bass strings on that bass. And over the coming weeks and months, we're going to see how long those strings last. So how they keep their tone, how long they keep their tuning stability. And I will report back after every gig I do with them, and give them either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And we'll just see how long that particular set of strings out of the packet are going to last. So in order to use that bass on videos and get it all set up and how I wanted it, I did a video, sorry, just bear with me, I'm just selecting all the messages. So in order to do those videos and to try out that experiment, I need to get that bass cleaned up and all set up with new set of strings and what have you. So the video that's gone up this morning is basically how to clean and maintain and set up basically the subject matter, which is a Status Graphite Empathy bass, but it can apply to any other Status bass that's got a graphite neck, or even if you just want to know how to look after your bass in terms of cleaning it and polishing it and making it as good as it can be. So if you haven't seen that video already, either after you've seen this live chat, or you can open up another window on your device, and you'll see that kind of at the front of the videos list on the channel. So if you've wondered, how do I clean up my bass, or how do I make it play better, or how do I do the intonation, or how do I set the pickup height, or what polish should I use on a phenolic fingerboard? For anyone who doesn't know what phenolic is, it's compressed paper, but generally it's a hard wearing material that is used on graphite neck basses instead of a regular timber wooden based fingerboard. They're very particular to sort of carbon graphite necks. Sometimes you might get a wooden neck that's used it. Sometimes it can be used as an alternative to ebony. But on anything that's come out of status graphite, unless it's a wooden neck base with a wooden fingerboard, you might be thinking, well, how do I make that phenolic fingerboard look great and black and shiny and as vibrant as it did when it left the factory? So if you want to know, check that video out. So I'm using a whole bunch of cleaning products. There's some products from Music Nomad. There's some from Gin Dunlop. Obviously Rotor Sound. I've put a set of Rotor Sound strings on this bass. Used a Hercules neck cradle and a Music Nomad mat and various polishing cloths and what have you. And then a couple of different sprays. There's a polish. And also I use something called Never Dull, which is like a lubricated wadding for cleaning up metal and brass. So again, if you keep hearing of these products and thinking, I don't know what they do or I don't know how to use them, you might want to check out this video. So if I can help people make their basses look better, or if you've been given like a load of polishes and waxes, for example, here's one of the Dunlop System 65 packs. So it's got the cream of carnauba wax, it's got the cleaner and polishing spray, there's a string cleaner, there's a fingerboard prep, what was the other one in there? It's the conditioner for certain wooden fingerboards. But again, if you've been given one of these for your birthday or for Christmas or something and you think, I don't know how to use it, I don't know what's involved, then maybe check out that video and it might give you a few ideas. Might give you some pointers as to what to do and how to use them. So again, if I can help in any way, if I can offer you some advice or give you an idea how to look after your bass and how to set it up and make it play as good as possible, then by all means sort of fire away with some questions and I'll try and help you out and try and explain them for you. So I can see already we have a friend of the channel, Stacy from North Carolina in the US. Hope you're well. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Good afternoon here in the US. Cool. Cool experiment. Thank you. Well, we haven't done it yet, so you're going to have to wait and see how it pans out over the weeks and months. Do you plan on doing a rundown on other string manufacturers, a compare and contrast thing? Yeah, that will be a feature. I know there've been lots of other kind of string comparison videos on not just bass channels, but on sort of general music channels, and they'll buy a bunch of different strings and test them against one another. The hard thing with that is that you kind of need to set up what you think is a scientific environment. So on what basis are you judging them, and what process are you going to go through to compare and contrast them? Are you going on brightness? Are you going on how long they maintain their tone? Are you comparing how long they feel like new strings? And then are you testing them over the same same period of time with the same playing techniques and the same amount of pressure and the same gigging or performance circumstances? So it's kind of a bit difficult sometimes to sort of do that comparison, if you like, on a scientific basis, because people always say, well, it's not been the same, or this element of the test hasn't been sort of scientifically the same across multiple instruments, or the climactic conditions haven't been the same. So that can be a bit tricky. But if it's a case of putting a new set of strings on a test bass and then comparing them based on that, then yeah, that's probably something I could certainly do. That would be a long drawn out video though, and might take a bit of time to sort of prepare make it look good and make it viewable. Because there's no point making a video that the premise of making it is great, but then actually in practice what you're sort of preparing and how it's presented is really boring. So I'll certainly note that down for a possible future video, but thank you anyway. Thank you for the idea. It has been something that's crossed my mind. I mean, there are, even within brands, you'll find videos on YouTube where someone might sort of compare. They might just have one type of string, say steel round wound, and then compare all the different gauges, or whether they're round wound, half wound, or flat wound. So so there are those kind of videos already out there, but like I say, the hard thing is trying to do it and make it viewable. It would almost be like doing a video comparing bass cabinets. You know, some people would find it interesting, but how do you glamorize sort of the tone coming off a box and a speaker? And again, I could do it, but whether it would be that interesting to watch is another thing. I can see someone else just posted Patrick Sweeney. Good evening, sir. Hope you're well. Thank you for the message you posted up and the questions you asked last week. So really thank you for that. See what your question is. Is the empathy going to be used in all of the various bands you play in, or just one band or genre? Say, for example, Uncle Funk, where there may be a lot more slap playing, which for me seems to dull strings. No, I'm actually going to use it in all of the bands and musical gigs and situations I play in. However, I can't use it in the Queen tribute bands that I play in. And I've actually got a pair of Queen gigs coming up this weekend. So because I have to use a precision for the John Deacon thing and for the sound. So as I'm saying, I won't be able to use the empathy on those gigs because it has to be what it has to be. But over the next, I think I actually went through the diary and worked out how many gigs I think this set of strings is going to be okay for. And I think this is going to take me well into the autumn. And I say that I've kind of done this experiment before. I did it about 7 years ago when I first moved over from the old brand of strings I used, which were Piccatos, over to Rotosound. I remember I was on a run of gigs and I was thinking, God, these strings have been on for a while. And I actually went back through the diary and worked out how many gigs I'd used it for, and it was racking up. It was quite a large number, and I think it will actually surprise people how long that set of strings will last. But again, what the videos will show is the point, how the tone sort of not gets worse, but just changes. And certainly on any new set of strings, after you've done 2 or 3 gigs, the lively, bright nature of a new set kind of transforms into like a consistent, steady tone that sort of continues, or it certainly was when I've done this before on this bass in years gone by, was that it kind of, you get to a tone, and certainly with the empathy, there's a lot of EQ available in that circuit, so you can end up with a smoother, rounder tone, and sort of those high transient treble peaks and the big boomy lively bass, they kind of calm down a bit, but you actually end up with a slightly more usable tone, and the strings become a bit more playable. So the sort of initial sort of stickiness that I associate with fresh strings, that kind of goes, and you end up with a smoother performance. And that's not because you're playing as sort of softened the string, it's just they've kind of become acclimatized to gigging, if that kind of makes sense. Some people will be going, I don't know what he means. Hopefully you'll get the idea through that series of videos. So the initial video for that hopefully will go up tomorrow or Wednesday, as soon as that's edited. And now I've already got 2 of the gig videos are already in the bag, because I've already done 2 over this weekend. So over the next maybe 7 to 10 days, you'll see the initial video in the first 2 episodes, and then we'll get into a cycle, hopefully, where every Monday there will certainly be a video based on a gig over that weekend. If there's been 2 or 3 gigs, then obviously those videos will follow and it will just go numerically as we go, and hopefully the strings won't snap. There'll just come a point, which is what I found previously, where you reach a point where they just become sort of overly dead. And yes, I can brighten up with string cleaners, or there is the thing where you can actually continuously pluck a string, and the material like skin and sweat and oil that's building up in the grooves of the string will come out, and you'll basically give those strings a bit more liveliness, a bit more tone. We're not going to do that. We're literally just going to use those strings on every gig. They're not going to be cleaned. They're not going to be wiped down. And certainly that would probably prolong the life of the string. The experiment is the strings are on. How many gigs will they sort of stay gig worthy for? So we'll see. But that was the reason behind this cleaning and setup video, was I needed that bass, needed a clean, it needed fresh strings, and it needed a setup and just a check, because as you'll have, if you've seen the video that went up today, I actually last set that bass up in terms of action, intonation and pickup height in 2007. Well, that was 15 years ago. And I've checked it over the years, but it's done, I would imagine, somewhere in the region of about 2,500 gigs, that bass alone, since 2007. So yeah, so we'll see. So hopefully if you've seen the video that went up this morning, you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, or there's something in there that you don't get or you don't understand, by all means send a comment. So on that video you can send a comment or a question. I'll come back to you as soon as I can. Generally the video's been quite well received, lots of views on it. So if you have seen it and you've enjoyed it and you've given it a thumbs up or any sort of comment, then thank you very much. That's all very much appreciated. So here tonight on Brooks's Bass Corner, if you want to contribute to this live chat, there's a chat window. Thank you for the question, Patrick, by the way. By all means, type in a question or a comment and I'll come to you. If you're looking on the chat window, you have a variety of icons. You'll see an emoji icon. You'll also see a $ in a rectangle. Basically, the emoji sign is for you to put emojis on this conversation if you wish. But the $ allows you to contribute to the channel, to funding the channel, which allows me to sort of buy the equipment that facilitates the channel, allows me to buy the equipment that I review and do the videos on, allows me to potentially hire studios for as the channel continues, because there's going to be some videos where I'm going to need more space. So so if you wish to contribute to the channel financially, if you hit that $ symbol, it will then allow you to contribute financially, and that's called Super Chat. So if you hit that button and you're then asked how much do you wish to pay towards the channel, that will come up here and I'll see that. And you're very much, you know, that's up to you guys if you wish to do that. You don't have to. If you do, it's very much appreciated. So thank you. And also actually on any video on the channel now, there's also, so that's called Super Chat. There's now also a facility called Super Thanks. So below every video on the channel, where you have the like and dislike, the thumbs and the thumbs up and the thumbs down, there's also, I think it's a love heart with a $ symbol. That's called Super Thanks. So if you really enjoy a particular video that a content maker puts up on YouTube, or you're just enjoying what the topic's about, or the creator is talking about a subject or a topic that really works for you, you can again contribute to the channel on that video specifically. And again, all of that is very, very much appreciated. Coming up on the channel over the next couple of weeks, we've still got the live chats running. I think next week is the last one I've got booked in. So we've done five Mondays on the bounce. I can't tell you where 5 weeks has gone. But at the moment, this is week 4. Live chat number 19. So we've got the string experiment video, and there will be obviously the regular gig after gig after gig updates on the strings. We've got a couple of bass sound bites coming up. There's also a couple of bass reviews which I've been working on, and we've got a whole load of pedal review videos. So I know every week on these Monday live chats you'll have seen these couple of MXR vintage bass octave and bass envelope filter pedals. They're going to be featured. There's also a whole bunch of them. I can see them on the floor here because I've been doing photography and video filming today. So those will be coming up. So it's going to be like a whole sort of slew of bass and pedal videos coming up. There's also, I'm scripting the next Essential Bass album series, so that's in the making. All this stuff takes time, so and I know anyone that follows the channel will say there hasn't been many videos over the past sort of 4 or 5 months. Well, there will be. It's all there, and it just takes time to film it and edit it and sort of curate everything that you guys see in terms of the content. So it's all coming. Don't worry, it's all there. So yeah, so again, if you've just sort of wandered onto this video or this channel and you think, what the hell's going on? I'm Mike Brooks. This is Brooks's Bass Corner. This is live chat number 19. It's all bass chat. It's bass guitars, bass amps, bass effects, bass accessories, talking about great bass players. We're talking gigs you might have done, if you're looking for any gig advice, any gear advice. If you would like to know anything about writing for the bass magazines, whether they're UK based or US based or European, whatever you want to know. If you've got a question about anything to do with bass, fire away. That's what I'm here for. And so over the weekend, had a couple of gigs. Let's think, where were we? On Friday, I did what is rare for me these days. Yeah, I used to do many of them, which was to do a pub gig. Hadn't done one since March, although I'd completely forgotten I did that one. But actually, if I go back since December 2019, I think it was like the last couple of days before Christmas. So I think it was about 19th of December 2019. I've done 2 pub gigs. Everything else has been festivals, functions, private bookings, weddings, corporate events. So I hadn't done one for quite a while. And I was playing at the Porterhouse in Covent Garden here in London, and it was great. It was a totally different sort of gig scenario, gig environment, and it's something I used to do all the time, but I just don't do lots of it now. So, you know, you're dealing with transient audiences and people coming and going and sort of not heckling, but you're getting the sort of two-way chat, a bit like this really, that you get when you play in a pub. But it was great. We had an absolute blast, and it was great to see a friend of mine, Dave Ball, who I hadn't seen actually since the end of February 2020, and actually playing with his band, the Bears, was the last gig I did before we went into lockdown for the pandemic. So it was great to see Dave, and we had an absolute blast. It was really good fun, and it was odd for me because normally I drive to and from gigs, but because I didn't need any amplification, it was all provided at the venue. All I had to take was a bass and a pedal board. So I thought, right, okay, well, we're not going to drive into the middle of London on a Friday night because the traffic will be murder and the parking will be even worse. So I got onto the tube, and the good thing was the gig finished early enough that meant I could get the a late night tube back to where I was parked. So it all worked out very well, and we had an absolute blast. And the Empathy was used on that. That was the first gig with the restring. So that was good. And then Saturday I had an outdoor festival gig with Uncle Funk, which is a disco funk show band that I'm now part of and perform with. And we were playing in Wells next the sea, which is on the north coast of Norfolk here in the UK. And it was I think it was opening, not closing, it was opening their carnival. So it was the Wells Carnival, and we were playing on this big open air. It was an outdoor event, but we were playing on like this big trailer, and it was great. It was an absolutely great gig. And when we got there, it seemed like a very big area, but not many people. And I thought, okay, this is going to go one or two ways. Either going to be exceptionally great and full, or we're going to it's going to be a bit patchy, where people are just going to stand around the outside and watch. And actually, it was the the former, not the latter. It was absolutely heaving. I think there was probably maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people there. It was busy. And there will be some videos, and actually if you follow me on social media, you'll have seen some of the videos and photos from that show. But we had an absolute blast, and feedback seems to be very good. I've got friends that live up there, and they said that the feedback they've heard from people who attended was just outstanding. And we had an absolutely great gig, so it was all good. I can see Stuart Goodman, the Stuart Goodman, has attended the live chat. Evening, Stuart. Hope you're well. Stacey's just posted. Happy all the gigs are happening again. Getting out and about is great for everyone. Sense of normalcy returning. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Well, I think I've said before in the live chats, I started to get back out again last summer. So it would have been late June, early July. So for me, we're now like a year back after having lost about 17 or 18 months. So, but the problem is now when you look back and you're trying to remember things pre-pandemic, it's weird. It's like, well, what happened in that gap? Because it's such a sizable gap, 16 to 18 months of nothing. And we did one gig. I did one gig in the September of 2020. But you think, well, the period before that seems so long ago, 2.5 years ago. But what actually happened during the lockdown? Because every day kind of became the same. It was a bit like Groundhog Day. But we got through it, and now we're all back out there. And I have to say the crowds have been great. Even sort of last year, the crowds were great. But this summer is like the real first return back to normal. So it's all good. It's all good. So I hope you guys are over there in the US. Hope you're all safe and well and getting back out there and gigging. And wherever you are in the world, if you're a regular gigger, or if you just do it as something as a bit of a hobby, it's getting back out there. You only realize kind of what we missed during that lockdown, but it's all good. We're back out there. So this week, as I've said, I've got a couple of Queen tribute shows. One down the West Country in Torquay, I think at Babacoon Theatre on Friday, with the magnificent Supreme Queen. So very much looking forward to that. I'm depping for the regular bass player, I think he's on holiday. Al, if you're out there, if you're watching this. So yeah, I'm stepping into Al Wallbanks's shoes for the evening. And then Saturday I am performing, I think, with This Is Queen over in Radstock, again over in the West Country, kind of a bit near Bath, Bristol way, doing a gig down there on Saturday. So we should have I'll be all queened up for the weekend. So got my Queen t-shirt on in preparation, so that's good. And then the week after I've got gigs. I've got one in Rickmansworth, which isn't far from here, in West London, in Middlesex, West London kind of vicinity. And also we've got an Uncle Funk show, a big outdoor event over in Herne Bay in Kent at Strode Park, which we're very much looking forward to. So it's all good. So it's hectic through August. But as I said earlier, there's going to be a lot more content now on the channel. So if you're out there, I can see there's quite a lot of you watching. I've got it here in my on my camera as I'm logged in live to YouTube. I can see there's quite a few of you out there. If you've got any questions, anything that's on the channel, any content, any gear questions, anything you want to ask about, anything you see here in the back, anything to do with amplification that's behind me, if you want to ask about the Stormtrooper head or the mugs that are along the top here, feel free. If you've got any questions about bass gear, any of the videos that are already on the channel, if you've got some ideas of things you'd like to see on the channel, stick them in the chat window and I will respond to them as you guys put them in. Patrick Sweeney, you're asking, Mike, it seems you like a costume, Queen, ABBA, Uncle Funk. I'm not averse to a costume. I'll be fair. I'm not averse to a costume. I have no problem dressing up to do gigs and stuff. For years, I didn't do that. The biggest chunk of my career so far was 17 years in a general covers band that used to do 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 gigs a week. So getting dressed up in costumes wasn't a thing for many years. but it's nice to do it. I really enjoy all the work I'm doing at the moment. So whether it's Uncle Funk, doing disco funk stuff, or the Queen tributes, I do an ABBA tribute occasionally, a couple of wedding bands, plenty of debt work with sort of wedding function bands, corporate event bands. But the pub and club stuff seems to have just kind of sort of taken a sidestep for a while. But I'm fine with that. That's cool. Here we go. People with emojis. Great. Thank you. Yes, I can see the big smiley happy faces. Thank you. That's great. Yeah. And so that's kind of where we're at the moment. But the content on the YouTube channel will now, we're going to steamroller through this month. There's going to be a lot of stuff going up. So keep an eye on the notifications as they come through. If you follow some of the stuff we do here on the channel, but you don't get the notifications, you need to hit the notification bell. So underneath most videos, or I think it's underneath every video, you'll see like a bell. If you click on that, then YouTube will notify you whenever I put up a new video or I put up a new message on the community tab. Oh, Stacy from North Carolina has just done a super chat donation to the channel. Thank you very much. That is really appreciated. Thank you. So if you're looking at that and you're listening to what I'm saying, basically Stacy has just hit the super chat button, which is on the chat window, and she's donated money to the channel. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So there's going to be lots of stuff coming up. I've completely lost my thread there. It'll come back in a minute. Oh, Stuart Goodman's asking a question. Quick question. How do you decide what amp setup you take to a gig? Good question, sir. And actually, that's been a topic of conversation on previous Monday night live chats over the past couple of weeks. So the situation I found myself in is that up until last year, when we started to come out of lockdown, I'd always had amplification, always taken backline, always got 2 amps on a gig, always got a cabinet. Even if I didn't use it, it was there. But pretty much, I would say, maybe 98% of the gigs I've done here in the UK, when I'm abroad, it's a different thing because gear is either provided at the gig or it's flown in, or it's provided by PA companies out there. But here in the UK, I always had an amp and I always had a cabinet. When we came out of lockdown and I started to do the gigs with Uncle Funk, although I'd been the dep for Uncle Funk before, I'd always taken gear with me. When we came out of lockdown, that band was kind of moving towards, because the technology allowed it and financially it made sense, it was doable, was that we're all on in-ear monitoring to reduce the amount of noise on stage, but also the band carries its own sort of closed down Wi-Fi network. So we could all have in-ear monitoring and wirelessly, or we can have it via a cable if we're using one of those small sort of belt pack things that you plug an XLR into. Which meant using a phone or a laptop or a tablet, you can then go into, via a piece of software, an app, mixing app, you can actually control your monitoring. So you aren't relying on some guy with big boxes at the front blowing, hundreds of watts of foldback at you. So for your sanity, it's great. You get like CD quality sound in your ears. And once you learn how to use that mixer and how to make the band sound good, it's great. It works really, really well. So it was a very quick learning curve. So the first couple of gigs we did coming out of lockdown last summer were festivals. And I could see in the diary that we had lots of festivals coming up. So I turned up to the first couple of festivals with backline, and it was quite eye-opening that doing festivals, you think you have a large amount of time to change over. You might have half an hour or 45 minutes. Invariably, you end up with 15 minutes, sometimes not even that much. So you got to get all your gear set up, and the drummer's got the worst deal. He's got to have all of it set up beforehand. Generally, it gets sort of rolled on a platform, on a riser. And there was me setting up backline and plugging everything in and getting all the sounds right and thinking everything was great and cool. And I hadn't got the costume on. I wasn't even ready to play. And one of the stage managers said, right, 5 minutes to performance. It's like, I haven't even finished. I haven't even got everything all wired. So it became very apparent that having backline at certainly at festival shows was very difficult. So if backline was supplied, great, go with that. But generally, certainly in Uncle Funk, I don't use backline on festival shows because there just isn't the time. It's loads of effort carrying the gear and getting your car close enough and getting it to the stage. And it's far easier just to have a pedal board in a case, whether it's a larger one or it's a smaller one with just a couple of pedals. Plonk that down. XLR, which is what would go into your amp, goes into, for me, a preamp DI pedal, which I use the Aguilar Tone Hammer, but I've also got other ones here. I've got Sons amp, and I've got an EBS Microbass 2, and I've also bought, which will be a review very shortly on the channel, the Electro Harmonics Battalion, which looks like a great unit, and I've always been very impressed with that. I bought one, so we're going to do a review and a demo of it very shortly here on the channel. So that's what I've been using. When I don't do festivals and we do private gigs, you've got far more setup time. So if I know I'm going to be on a big stage like a theatre or a hall, I might bring backline, but I won't have it like directly behind me pointing towards the audience. So it's like more bass power heading out into the crowd. I'll just have it to the side so I can hear it. It's not generally affecting anyone else. The horn players behind me might hear some of it. But it just gives me my own little personal bass monitor that if anything went wrong with the ears, and I have had situations where the mix in my ears has been affected by someone clicking on the wrong monitor send on the tablet or the iPad or what have you, and they start thinking they're changing their own in-ear mix. They're not, they're changing mine, and I've suddenly lost all the bass. If I've got that cabinet and amp there, I can just pull an IEM out and I can hear it. So now what I do, coming back to your question, Stu, is invariably I will always carry at least a cab and an amp with me, but certainly for Uncle Funk, I will just rely on the pedal board in most situations. With other bands, it's different. So if I'm doing a Queen band, it's kind of, there's a lot of power. Don't always know which PA I'm going to be going through, whether it's the band's own PA or a provided PA. So I don't know if I'm going to use in-ear monitoring. Some gigs I might even take a monitor with me. There's a couple of wedding bands I play with where, because of the noise restrictions now at a lot of wedding venues, drummers using electronic kit. Well, if the band doesn't have its own monitoring, you're not going to hear any of it. You're going to be relying on what's coming out the front, and usually as bass players we aren't necessarily at the front. We might be at the back or to the side. If I haven't got that monitor or in-ear monitoring, I've got no drum sound to go with. I can't hear anything other than the sound of a drumstick hitting a rubber pad. Well, you might not hear that if there's one or two guitarists and it's quite loud. So I try to just cover all the eventualities rather than just turn up and go, well, this is it. I'll take a cab, I'll take an amp, I'll have my pedal board, I'll have my in-ear monitoring bag with me, and I'll have taken a monitor on some gigs if I know in advance that there might be an electronic kit. And then everything's covered. So I can still have a good gig. The audience are going to get a good gig. So for me, everything, all the bases, if you like, are covered. I've covered all the eventualities. So, you know, I know some people can't afford to have all that gear, or they haven't got space for it all. Well, kind of my situation is that I can. So I do. And that's kind of the answer to that question, really. You know, a lot of times if I'm depping in bands or what have you, certainly on a festival, there might be backline provided, or sometimes you might be doing a function gig, and again, the PA company, the AV company might be providing the bass amplification. If it's good enough or you're happy with it, then it's there and it saves you having to carry any more stuff in and out. Patrick Sweeney, have you ever used Barefaced bass cabs? Have you reviewed one? No, I haven't. I'm very aware of Barefaced. I've been aware of them since they came out. I think which was around sort of 2009, 2010 maybe, or maybe a little later. I can't remember. The years have flown by. I haven't ever reviewed one. I know other people have for the bass mags. I've not reviewed any on the channel. Actually, I haven't done any bass cab reviews on the channel because, as I was saying earlier on at the start of the chat, trying to make a bass cabinet review interesting, something that you guys would want to watch, is really hard. It's you know, how do I make the sound coming out of a wooden cabinet and a speaker cone? How do I make that interesting for you? It's really quite hard. And also conveying, it's fine when you're playing and it's going through a DI or through an audio interface and you have some semblance of how the tone is changing. Miking up a cabinet, it's hard to portray the tonal differences. If I did like a cabinet review and I had 3 or 4 cabinets, how do I get across the nuances of the changes that are going on when you're miking up the cabinet? It's then going to be compressed within the audio, the video editing software. It's then going to get compressed again when you upload it to YouTube. So are those differences actually even going to come across to some guy watching a video on his phone with earbuds in? They might just look blankly and say, I don't get what this video is about. It's just, you're just talking about bass cabinets, but I'm not really hearing the difference. So there is a possibility there might be some cabinet reviews later as the channel progresses, but at the moment I've got other things I need to concentrate on. But no, I haven't used any Barefaced cabs. I've never had the opportunity to use any other than playing through some at things like the London Bass Guitar Show. But if you've got, you know, if you're saying to me they're great and I should check them out, then great, you know, let me know via this chat. And if you're using them, you know, how are you finding them? Are they great? Are they reliable? Do they fall to bits? Do they not fall to bits? You know, what are your experiences on them? Generally over the past, well, I've been fairly loyal to the amplification I've used over the years. So my first amplification was a custom sound bass cabinet, bass combo, 60-watt bass combo. Used that for a couple of years. Then I had a Carlsberg Cobra 90-watt combo. So this was all before I had a car and I could drive. And then I used Hartkey amplification. I had a 3500 head and a 4x10 XL cabinet, and I used that for 10 years. I then moved over to EBS, and I used their cabinets and amplification from 2002 up to 2018. And now I'm very happy using Aguilar stuff. So although, as you can see, I've still got all my amps and cabs still here. And obviously you can see other amps here in the rack. There's a Gensben Shuttle 92 here, and there's a Gallien-Kruger MB200. Over here there's a Mesa Boogie Strategy 88, which is an absolute beast. And then I've got my Aguilar stuff elsewhere in the house. So, you know, DB751 and a AG700. So I use different amps for different gigs, different things, depending on what I need to produce for the band or client that I'm playing for. So that's kind of, that's it really. And I have to say, since 2009, I've pretty much used Neo cabs, neodymium equipped cabinets. So I had a couple of EBS Neo. What do I have? I've got a 212 and a 210. And now with Aguilar, I'm using the 212s. I just love the sound. I think I get enough bass end and enough tonal clarity. It just does everything I need to do, really. Stu Goodman, the barefaced owner's mum lives on my street. Well, how's about that? Well, I assume you live in a very salubrious area, and is she living in a mansion? I don't know. She's got a Rolls Royce outside or a Ferrari. Well, how's about that? So that'll be Alex Klaber's mum. Lives on your street. Oh, small world. I used to live in the same road where we are here to Duran Duran, Roxy Music, and David Bowie's clothes designer, Mr. Anthony Price, used to live in this very street. He lived a couple of doors down from me. So that's my claim to fame. And Shane Ritchie used to live over that way, past the next row of houses, and then over in the big field over here in Denham. So yeah, there we go. The rich and famous, hey. Anthony Price. Yes, Stacey over in North Carolina. Yes, the Anthony Price. I'm sure we've had that discussion before. Yes, Anthony Price used to live 1, 2, 3 doors down from where I currently reside. I've had him here at my front door trying to get, he had a pair of peacocks and they used to fly out of his garden and sort of house themselves in the woods at the back of our houses here. And he came and asked if he could get access to the woods from my back garden. I didn't even know it was Anthony Price. It was only because the postwoman that we used to have came along one day and she said, do you know who lives at that house? And I went, no. I said, I know the guy. I don't know what his name is. She said, I've got some fabric samples here for him. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, do you want to leave them here? She said, yeah. Can you just sign them for him? I looked at the name on the envelope and it was Anthony Price. I'm thinking, it can't be. Can it? No, surely not. And then I saw a Duran Duran Classic Albums episode on Rio, and he's talking on it because obviously he designed the suits that they wore and the stuff you see in the Rio video, the suits on the yacht and the clothes they were wearing round Hungry Like the Wolf Save a Prayer Time. And there's his face on the video, and I'm thinking, that's the guy who lives down the road. And it was Anthony Price. We had many a chat with Duran Duran being one of my favourite bands. And yes, we had a right old chat. So yeah, you didn't know that, did you? There you go. Stu Goodman, Hartke 3500 were great heads. Do you know what? They really were. And for the time, I really loved everything they did. So it was really simple to use. And as long as you didn't abuse the graphic equalizer, they were great. The only problem I found over 10 years of using them was that they were really susceptible to dry joints on the circuit board. And the LEDs on the graphic sliders would also break down periodically. Sometimes it was the ribbon cable, but invariably it was a dry joint. And for a number of years, that amp was truly bomb-proof. It was really reliable. And then after about sort of 7-8 years, I started to get problem after problem with it. And then a friend introduced me to the EBS gear and I heard all that and I was like, well, that's a different level of amplification. So the Hartke got sold on and I went down the EBS route. Although I say that, I do have a Hartke 200 watt 2x10 combo right here. I'll have to move the camera to show you, but believe me, there's a Hartke 2x10 200 watt combo just sat here. And that delivers. It sounds great in certain situations. Yeah. So, yeah, I've got all sorts of gear here. Stu Goodman, she is a lovely lady. We're talking about Alex Kleber's mum here. Alex Kleber came and played my Sadowski MV4. There you go. So I would assume... Oh, no, we've had this discussion about your amplification. You've got mark-based stuff, haven't you? And you were looking to change, I think you've changed your cabinets, haven't you? I think. See, this is the problem. I have lots of social media chats with various players and they throw loads of questions at you. And then I'm trying to remember, is that question or is that conversation? Was it that chat? And suddenly the brain fog hits. And so I'm trying to remember. I think you're playing through mark-based stuff, aren't you? But you were talking about getting a bigger cabinet. Oh, well, maybe. So my question to you, Stu, are you using Barefaced stuff? Is that something you're using at the moment? So here we go. Yes, it's... wow, we've done 50 minutes already. So this is live chat number 19 on Brooks's Bass Corner. It's Monday night here in the UK. This is the 4th of 5 Monday night live chats. And thank you very much if you're attending, if you're contributing to the conversation. This is great. If you've got any questions about bass gear, bass amplification, bass effects, bass accessories, you want to talk about your favorite bass players, favorite bands, bass specific albums, you want to talk about anything here on the channel, any of the content, any of the videos, if you want to ask me anything about my playing career or anything about my time writing for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player magazines, you are more than welcome. Fire it away into that chat window, and as I see the questions come in, I'll jump on them and answer them for you. So there is another live chat next week, which will be live chat number 20. If you are already kind of following the channel and you've got the notification bell activated, you will get notifications that that chat is going to happen between now and next Monday. If you are new to the channel, or this is the first video you've watched, if you want to be part of the live chat, feel free. You're more than welcome. If you want to be part of next week's chat, you can, in advance, find that chat on the video window. It will say upcoming, which means it's a video in the future, which is next week. You can click on that. There will be a set reminder on button. You press that, it will send you a notification on the day that the live chat is next Monday night. So if you're prone to forgetting things, press that button and YouTube will notify you next week. But the best way, obviously, is to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you will just be notified whenever I'm uploading or I announce live chats, or you can follow us on the social media, obviously. So you can follow Brooks's Bass Corner on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All the news goes up on there. You will find various bits of information throughout the weeks and months. It all goes up on there. And obviously, if I've got new videos coming out, or there are new purchases, or there's stuff that I think you need to know as bass players, it all goes up on there. So whatever your preferred social media medium is, find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and you will get everything that comes out from me and the channel. So there we go. So so if you're enjoying the chat, by all means, or if you're listening after the event, I'm always very aware that people watch the live chats after we've finished, and you can still contribute. Don't think because you've missed the video that you can't contribute to the conversation. You can just put a comment in the comments box, which obviously the chat window shuts, so you can't do that. There'll be a comment section underneath the video. You got a question or a comment about this video or anything else on the channel, stick it in there and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. Stu Goodman, I saw that pop up. I have a Mark based little Marcus head and a Gensler MG12. That's it. So yes, we were talking about this, weren't we? You were changing over cabinet, or you're looking to sort of add another cabinet to your setup. Yeah, so how are you finding the little Marcus head? I think I recall you saying you were really happy with it. You were thinking about adding either a bigger cabinet or a second cabinet to what you've got. Again, it depends what you need it for. So, if you're not out gigging a lot, you probably don't need anything too big. Having said that, I know lots of people now going out with very small Class D amp heads and small cabinets, and providing the band they're playing with has got good real sort of PA reinforcement, they don't need to take much gear. The only thing is, if you're doing things like weddings and you're in marquees or on a big stage or in a big hall, if you're totally reliant on your backline, a small cabinet is not going to cut the mustard. You need something with a bit more grunt and a bit more heft. So I'm quite fortunate that over the years I've kind of amassed a lot of gear, so I can sort of mix and match depending on what the gig is and where it is. But that's all cool. I have done gigs where I turned up with one cabinet and suddenly realized, oh, I needed to bring two. And if the bass end wasn't going through the PA, it was literally what the audience were going to hear from the bass was what was coming out of my amp. Those are the gigs where you suddenly think, I definitely need a second one. So for a long time, if I had a 410 or a 212, I'd have a 210 as well, just to give me a bit more reinforcement at ear level, but also it just projects the bass a bit more. So if you're on a hollow stage or quite a large stage in a big venue or in a marquee, and marquees are the worst, they will just sap bass frequencies and take all your presence away. So you're playing notes through your gear and you're thinking, well, it normally sounds really great and punchy and lots of twang and clarity. You can play and it's like, I can't hear anything but boom. That's where a second cabinet kind of really comes into its own. So you are reinforcing the punchy quality of your gear and the projection by having an extra cab on top. and also it helps you to hear. So like here, there's 2 cabinets stacked. So if I was standing up, I'd be able to hear this. I'd be obviously up here by the cups, but I'd be getting that reinforcement from that second cabinet. So yeah, but this is it. You kind of, you have to look at what you're doing, the gigs you're playing, how much space you've got, and sort of assess it from that. And I've always said this about amplification. It's very, not everyone's blessed with a large garage or a large room in the house. Many a player I know who do loads of gigs, they literally do just have a very small cabinet, Class D amp, and it goes in the cupboard under the stairs. And no one sees it from week to week, and they pull it out at weekends and go and do their gigs. And if you can get away with that and get by with that, then great. I never have. The bands I've played in have done so many sort of different types of gigs and different venues that I kind of needed all the tools to be able to do it. Just the way it goes. Just the way. But you learn this stuff over time. I mean, I can remember when I had the 410 and the Hartkey rig, the 410 XL 350 watt head, and I thought that was more than enough. And on most gigs it was, and certainly a lot of the gigs I was doing at that time, the bands I was playing with, they were huge PA setups, so invariably I'd have the 410 on top of a flight case. I could hear everything. It was great. When you then started to go out and find that the rig you were bringing was all that anyone was going to hear in terms of bass amplification, you suddenly realized you needed that second cab. That's where things changed, and I started to build kind of modular systems so that I might have a 410 and a 210 and 2 amps in case one went down. And then you're getting into the realms of, can my transport handle all this? Can it cover, is my car big enough to take all this gear? And you don't want to be leaving gear in cars, at gigs, and coming back to find your car's been broken into and the windscreen smashed. The extra amp and cab that you left in the back of the car is gone. But there we go. It's hard. I get it. I get questions from bass players all the time. It's like, well, what can I get away with? What's the minimum setup? Depends what you're doing and the band you're playing with, But I'm very fortunate now with the way that things have gone. And as I'm finding playing with Uncle Funk, I can get away with just a pedal board. And like on Friday, I did that gig in at the Porterhouse in Covent Garden here in London. I just had a very small pedal board. I think I had 4 pedals on it: tuner, drop pedal, octave pedal, and my Aguilar tone hammer. And I went from the tone hammer into the system, and I didn't know that there was an Ashdown combo there. I used the Ashdown combo as like a bass monitor, but I used the DI from my pedal board to go into the system, and it was great. And it just meant literally as we finished, I just pat everything away very quickly, and I was out the door and on the tube within 5 minutes and got back home. So that worked for that situation. If all my gigs were at that venue, I could sell all my backline. But then again, you couldn't guarantee you'd be doing that gig for years and years and years and years, and at some point you might need amplification. And Lord knows I know enough bass players who buy gear, then find they don't need it, go to a small setup, and then a couple of years down the line they need a big rig again for whatever they're playing. So I buy stuff and I keep it. It's the tools of the trade. So I won't get caught short, but at some point I won't need all this stuff, so it will go. So there we go. So if you've got any more questions, put them in the chat window. If there's anything you want to talk about, if we've talked about something and you'd like to sort of go back over it again, then let me know. It is only me here. You guys are out there in YouTube land. So I rely on your input as much as kind of you rely on me talking here on the video. So if you're not on the chat right now as it happens, but you're listening at a later date, and I know I've got bass playing friends out there who run the live chats as podcasts when they drive home. So because they might be out gigging now or otherwise busy, they can't get involved in the live chat. They will actually play my live chats when they're driving back from gigs late at night. So if you're out there, Steve Rickwood, perfect example. He says he runs some of my videos as live chats. But that's the joy of this. You can literally run the live chat playlist and it will just go through the videos. So if there's anything you'd like to know or anything you've heard on previous live chats, then fire away. And if I can help or offer some advice or some guidance, you know, no problem at all. It's what I'm here for. ish, very ish. But yeah, so that was the weekend of gigs, and again, I'll go back to the new video that came out today. If you haven't seen it already, I uploaded a video in the early hours of this morning, which was talking about cleaning and setting up a status graphite empathy base. Doesn't have to, you know, you don't have to own a status empathy to enjoy the video. You might actually get some stuff out of it regarding the cleaning and the polishing, cleaning a phenolic fingerboard. So if you've got a status graphite or any graphite neck base that's got a phenolic board, and some wooden neck bases have phenolic fingerboards, if you don't know how to clean it and make it look dark and shiny again, I suggest you check out the video, because I'm doing it there on that video. And what comes off of that video is I'm now using that base as an experiment base for the next, it could be 6 months, might even be longer. Just depends how long those rotor sound strings that are on that base last. So basically, I'm now using that status empathy to see how long the fresh set of rotor sound strings that I put on that base last week, we want to see how long they last on a typical run of gigs. So a gig would be anything from like an hour to 2:45s to 2 1 hours. And I will do a video after each gig, actually before each gig, and then I'll do one the following day after it. And you will see as time progresses how those strings change and how long they last. So you will get an idea of exactly what that particular make, brand, that configuration, gauge, string material, how long that will last. I kind of already know, because I did it about 6-7 years ago. I had a set of strings on that very same bass, and I couldn't believe how long they were lasting. So when I went back through the diary and counted up all the gigs that bass had been used on, it was quite a sizable number, and I think it might surprise a lot of you. What will be the comparison is if I use exactly the same type of string again, but on a different bass. And I think that will open a few people's eyes, because I know, I think I know how long a set will last on the empathy. I also kind of know how long they last on a typical Fender style bass, where you have 4 machine heads, 4 tuners in a row on the headstock. I know how those strings not deteriorate, but how they progress. And I think that is consistent, because it's happened to me many times, and I've used the same brand and the same type of string, and I've been quite surprised at what the difference is between. It could well be down to the particular bases, I don't know, but anyway, that experiment is going to be starting. Hopefully the initial video will go up tomorrow. It'll either be tomorrow or Wednesday. And actually, while I'm here, if you've been a regular attendee of the live chats, I know last week on Monday I said, right, that video that went up last night was meant to be uploaded and was meant to go public for your viewing pleasure last Tuesday. It didn't happen. A million and one things got in the way in terms of general life and prepping for gigs, and people needed stuff, and I had to deal with emails and phone calls and what have you. So the video that was meant to appear last Tuesday is the one that appeared this morning. So I'm really sorry if you were hanging on for that video last Tuesday. It was 6 or 7 days late. I really apologize. It shouldn't have taken that long, but other things in life just got in the way. And that is actually generally why there has been a general lack of new content on the channel through January, February, March, April, May and June. It's just life. It's that takes kind of priority, but I try to get as much content, and I want the content to look good, sound good, be informative, and I don't want to just chuck content out for the sake of it. It doesn't make any sense for the channel. So I will do my best to provide proper good bass content for you lovely people out there. Patrick Sweeney, you take a Trace Elliott Elf as a spare amp on gigs. So do I. It goes in my gig bag. It's there. It's so the Trace Elliott Elf is just such a small, fabulous little product that whether you like Trace Elliott or not, or what have you, if you're a gigging player, just to have a small Class D amp, and the Elf is probably the best example of this because you put it in your back pocket. Keep it in your gig bag, because for the sake of the price, you've got a spare amp there if your amp goes down on a gig. And don't assume that your amp will never go wrong. I've seen and been witness and privy to amps going down, perfectly good working amps, and they just stop mid-gig. So having that Trace Elliott Elf is a good thing. So well done, Patrick. Yep, good call there. Tiny, fits in the front of a gig bag. Exactly. Mine, I mean, I have used it as my main amp on some gigs because it was so small and it just meant I could do a load in one journey. Normally use an Aguilar AG700. Likewise, good choice of amp. Well done, sir. Or Gensben 6.2. Great amps. So I've got a 9.2 here. But the Gensben stuff was always very good. So yeah, great choice of amps there. Yeah. Stacy, North Carolina. Fret protectors for cleaning. No masking tape. What a time saver. Thank you. Do you know the Music Nomad stuff, and I'll put this out there, is great. It's really, really good. And I appreciate that players are getting bombarded with cleaning products and so many different brands, and this polish and that wax and that cleaning spray. And I'm sure we all think, well, it's all much of a muchness. But some of these brands do things better than anyone else. So at the moment on my workbench, certainly if you saw the video, I've got loads of Dunlop stuff there. I've got things like Never Dull, which I use for cleaning frets, but I also use around the house. If we've got like some of our door handles we inherited here, are kind of brassy coloured. They looked a bit tainted. I used the Never Dull on them. They looked gleaming. Any bases like my Alembics or my Aria that have got brass fittings, that Never Dull is the game changer. It's really, really good. But then also all the Music Nomad stuff, and if you saw the workbench on that video, at the start you'll see there were a bunch of Music Nomad spray bottles. It was just, I didn't want to fit every single product that's on my workbench into one video. There's going to be a whole load of workbench videos. And now as we're back out of lockdown and I'm gigging regularly, my bases need setting up. And also I'll put myself out there. I do what I call bass spa treatments for basses. So if you've got a bass and you would like it to play a little better and maybe look a little better, you just don't have the time or you don't know where to start with all this stuff, I do all that. I don't do any electronics work. I don't do any pickup circuits, anything to do with wiring other than a jack socket. I don't do soldering. I've never done that. I've never had the time to learn and do it. And maybe I should. But if you've got a bass and you want it to play better, it needs setting up. If you want it to look a little better, I mean, I had the front man of Uncle Funk. He's a bit of a bass player on the side. He gave me a couple of his basses to set up. There will be a video. It might be a YouTube short rather than a full-length video. And you wouldn't have believed the state of the Squier Precision he gave me to clean up and sort out. I've never seen a fingerboard like it. I've seen videos and photos of really gunky fingerboards. He runs a rock school thing up in Bishop Stortford, I think. The state of this fingerboard was obscene. It actually kind of made me feel a bit sick when I saw it. And I cleaned it all up. I made that bass as good as new as I possibly could. Didn't get a new spray. I mean, it was all banged up and what have you. But I made the bass play as well as I could. I basically gave it a spa treatment. So it got all cleaned up, all nicely polished. The fingerboard was sorted. We did the truss rod, did the intonation, did the action, set the pickups up for him. And that bass, he got it back. It's just like, bass plays like new. It's like, well, that's what happens when you put a bit of time and effort into it. You can make these things play really great. So there will be some more videos on that kind of thing. And there's a million of them on YouTube. But if you're a fan of the channel and you want to see me doing it, and if I can break it down to layman's terms and make it simple and make you guys out there think, actually, I could do this myself, then that's the whole idea. Because for years I used to stand there in various music shops and workshops and stuff and marvel at these guys who can sort this and do that and tweak that and change these screws and it's like when you actually slow it down and look at it, some of it is quite simple. Some of it can be technical, but I leave that to the people who know what they're doing. But in terms of making a bass look nice and play nice and making it play as best as it can, I can kind of do that myself. So that's what some of these videos are going to be about. And again, like I say, if it helps you guys, then I've succeeded. So what Stacey's talking about there are the Music Nomad grip guards. That's what I'm thinking of. So basically, you've probably seen, you can see them on Amazon, or I mean, other manufacturers do them as well. So basically, it's a metal sliver, like a length of metal with a slot cut out for the fret. These grip guards have a handle. Most of the ones you buy don't, and you end up having to hold them on. These have a handle. You'll notice on the video, I end up spending a lot of time holding the thing rather than gripping the handle. The reason for that, and no one's picked up on it yet, but I'll give the game away, is that the grip guards are curved to match the standard sort of camber and profile of a fingerboard. On a Status, it's flat. It's a straight neck. There is no camber on a graphite necked Status bass. And a lot of people are suddenly going, oh yeah, hadn't noticed that. The frets are completely level and straight. There is no arch, there's no camber. So the grip guard has a kind of one size fits all camber. They're flexible, but it wasn't flat straight. So I had to pin the thing down with my hands in order to use the fret eraser, and then the never dull wadding, and then the cleaner and the cleaning them up with the rag. So yeah, you'll see the video and think, why isn't he holding it by the handle? It's because the curve was there, and so I couldn't get the grip guard to lie flat against the fret. So there you go. So if you were wondering, now you know. But they are a real time saver. So on that video, I say, you know, normally I would mask the fingerboard up before you do anything, because you don't want to rub the fingerboard with the fret eraser, and you certainly don't want to get the never dull on there, because you'll get it off, but it might just color, certainly the phenolic fingerboard, it might affect it. But these grip guards were great, and they're not particularly costly. I think they're about 15, 16 pounds maybe. Might not have even been that much, but they certainly did the job. And I'm really pleased with the products I used on that video, especially that cream of carnauba wax, which is the green bottle there in the Dunlop System 65 pack. That stuff really brought out, on a glossy base that's got like a polyester gloss on it, it really brought up the shine, and it made the color really stand out, because that red base looks great, but when you get sweaty on it and it's gig grease off your fingers, and it doesn't look so hot. But that stuff, so I use the orange one first, which is the cleaner and polish, and then I use the carnauba wax on it, and it came up looking amazing. Well, you'll see the base at the end of the video. I mean, it's there in all its glory. It just looked fabulous, and I thought, wow, okay, so you're going to obviously see that gets in extensive use over future videos. There was another product in that video which I held up, which is called Meguiar's Scratch X2 ×2. So basically that's a car bodywork scratch, I guess a bit like teacup kind of thing. But someone recommended it, and so I bought some, and I haven't used it yet. I had intended on using it on that Empathy. The carnauba wax did a really good job, but I think what I'll do is, when that base needs another cleanup and those strings die, however many months that could be, I'll use some of that Meguiar's, and then I'll be able to compare how that base came up in, like last week with the carnauba wax, and how it comes out with the Meguiar's stuff. So we'll see. I would imagine they're going to be kind of similar, but basically there was a patch on the Status between the neck pickup and the edge of the fingerboard, basically where I've been slapping, or might have finger played over the neck pickup, and fingernails have basically just scratched the finish. So it's kind of all a bit swirly and didn't have the gloss of the rest of the finish. But by the end of it, it certainly looked a whole lot better. So that was all good. So yes, grip guards. That's it. Yeah, I know it threw me as well. I can remember, can remember the product name. So yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with that. So there'll be hopefully a video up tomorrow, which is the first experiment video, and then another one later in the week, which will probably be the first one. So that'll be from Friday's gig, and I think I'm really hoping to get a pedal review or two up this week if I can. Can't tell you which ones because there's so many that I've done and recorded now. I'll have to do all my keyword research and see what's hopefully going to be the most productive for the channel. And then we have another live chat next Monday, Monday the 8th. And actually, I've remembered actually, because next Monday would have been my grandmother's birthday. Today, being the 1st of August, is 34 years to the day that I saw Prince play at Wembley Arena on the Love Sexy tour. And anyone who knows the channel will know, I'm a huge Prince fan. Mugs are here, signed the Times. There's a Love Sexy mug over there. And that changed my whole musical landscape when I went to that gig. I was completely blown away by that show. I did a live chat on it on the 34th anniversary because it coincides, the album launch of Love Sexy coincides with the anniversary of Rio by Duran Duran. There's a live chat back in May. So I think it's live chat 15, could be. Where we talk about Love Sexy and that whole going to see Prince. But anyway, today is 34 years since I went to see the Purple and Peach Master at Wembley Arena, and that gig just changed my life, changed my outlook on music. I even went out and bought the whole back catalogue at that point, and not many bands or musicians have that effect on me, that I go the very next day and just go out and buy the entire back catalogue as it was at the time. So yeah, so live chat 20 is next Monday at 8 o'clock UK British Summer Time. So if you want to join us for that, you can already find that listed as an upcoming video. Click on it, it will take you through to the front screen, and you can click the set notification on button, and you will get a notification on Monday before the live chat happens. And you can join us here for another riveting live chat. And I hope if you've been on tonight's chat, you've enjoyed it. I can go for about another 10 minutes if you guys want to carry on asking questions. If you don't and you're all questioned out, then I'll wind it up in 10 minutes time. So thank you very much, Stacey from North Carolina, for the super chat donation to the channel. That's really, really appreciated. I know I use appreciate a lot when I'm doing these live chats, but it is because without you guys there isn't a channel. If people aren't watching the videos and liking and commenting and subscribing, we don't really have, I'm just putting content out for the sake of it. But I'm very lucky that I have you guys out there who subscribe to the channel, get involved, you send me social media messages, you follow the community tab. And for anyone who's on YouTube, if you don't know what the community tab is, it's a facility for creators. Once we get 500 subscribers, it's YouTube's own social media kind of element. So instead of posting messages up and conversing via Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, you do it via the community tab here. And I use it for putting up polls and pictures and sort of teaser pictures of content that's going to be going up and little reminders. So if you don't already follow that, you can do it on the desktop version of YouTube. You can do it on the mobile app. There'll be a tab at the top that says community. If you use the YouTube app on a mobile device, the community messages are what you see if you scroll through, and they're not videos, they're actually messages from independent channels. So you can follow that if you so wish. And actually going back to, I just mentioned that we do polls. I did a couple of polls recently on the community tab and got some feedback from you guys in terms of the effect pedals you use the most and what you get the most mileage out of. Which basses are your sort of go-to basses, what you predominantly use? And that's all good feedback for me, because I get an idea what sort of stuff might interest you guys in terms of the content going forward. If you've got any suggestions for content going forward, you can always send me a message, make a suggestion. Live chats are the best way of doing it, because I'm interacting with you, so we can talk over sort of the merits of what might come up in future videos. Yeah, so I will give you like a couple of minutes to put any more questions up if you've got anything, or if you've seen any videos on the channel and you'd like some clarification about something I've talked about, or if you've just got some gear questions, if I can help. Lord knows I've reviewed enough gear over the years, not just here on the channel, but for the 2 bass magazines I've written for. I actually went through it the other day. I think in terms of reviews, I've probably done close to about 500 reviews for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player. And in terms of features and articles and columns, I'm probably somewhere in 700 region. I had to count up all the files on the hard drive in that in my magazine directory, but I think I'm close to about 700, so that's no mean feat. It took me 18 years to amass that, but yeah, so I've tried plenty of gear, that's for sure, and I can normally get an idea about a bass sort of fairly quite quickly once you've done this often enough, and you've done things very quickly, and you've sat with basses, and I've had many a bass here for review here at home, and you get to spend time with it, and you know things that are good or things that kind of work for me. And that, Lord knows, there's a number of basses here in this rack that I bought after I'd reviewed them, that I had no experience of before. The most recent one would be the Bass Center Betsy bass, which is a copy of Guy Pratt's 1964 Jazz, which is he calls Betsy, belonged to John Entwistle originally. And yes, the Bass Center make a pretty close copy. I mean, a brand new bass is not going to be a 64 Jazz, is it? So, but it's close. It's close, and it's a great player. And basically, I turned up to the Bass Guitar Show. They had one there for people to try. I said, would you like, or could we do a review of that? They went, absolutely. I took it away. I was blown away with that bass. Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Took it back. I said, I'd like to buy that. They said, well, we need it for the show. I said, that's fine. You can use it for the show, but I want to buy it at the end of the show. So I have my very own Betsy in the rack over there. I've used it on many a gig since I bought it in September 2019. And very impressive it is too. There's a video and a demo on the channel if you want to check it out. You don't know what I'm talking about, just go on the channel, type in Betsy, and you'll see there's a couple of videos for it. You can hear it, you can see it. So it's basically a jazz copy with EMGs in it. It's not an active circuit, but they're active pickups. So there is a battery involved, 9-volt battery that fits under the control guard, the metal plate, and very good value for money. And I don't get a commission for that. I'm just saying it's a great bass. And the fact that it was a bass I reviewed, I've got other jazz basses in my rack, but I was so blown away with how it sounded and played. I was like, no, I need to buy this. And Lord knows there's been enough basses in my playing career that I've passed up the opportunity to buy and then regretted afterwards. So yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to wind this up because there's nothing else coming in here in the chat window. So thank you very much if you've attended. Thank you very much to everyone who's contributed. Thank you very much to Stacey in North Carolina for the super chat donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I will bid you farewell. Don't forget, Live Chat 20 is next Monday at 8 o'clock, same time, same place. The video going up tomorrow or Wednesday. There'll be another video later in the week. Just keep your eyes peeled. If you don't already, you can follow me on social media, Brooksy's Bass Corner. It's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow the community tab here on the YouTube channel. If you've got any questions about this live chat video or any other videos or content on the channel, fire questions in via the comments section and I'll reply as soon as I can. If you've enjoyed this video or anything on the channel, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you get notifications when I'm posting up new content or I'm posting up stuff on the community tab. And also, if you can give this video a thumbs up or any of the videos a thumbs up, it really is very much appreciated. It helps push the channel along within the YouTube algorithm. So I will bid you good night. I hope you've had a good day. Wherever you are in the world, have a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. We'll see you next Monday. And if you haven't already checked out this morning's video, you can find it here on the channel. I'm cleaning and setting up my Status Graphite Empathy base. If you want to set up your own base or learn how to clean it up and make it look better, check it out. Okay, have a great day. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.